It's one shot, now the future is yours. I'm turning dreams into reality. In the lab with the.
All right, we are live. What's up? What's up, y'all? How are you guys doing? Hope you're having an amazing. Today's Tuesday, I believe, right? So hope y'all are having an amazing Tuesday. For those of y'all that are new to Pre-PT Grind, my name is Joseph Ngugi. I'm a physical therapist. I am also a PT school acceptance coach with 𝘂𝙧𝙚 and what our job is to help y'all get into physical therapy school without wasting time or money. And what you're tuning in for right now has become my number one series that we do. It's my favorite series that we do, and it's called the Pre-PT Inspire series. And the reason why it's so significant, and the reason why I think you're going to enjoy tonight's episode and every other episode that is in this series, is because these are real stories. These are students that were pre-PTs who were in our coaching program, the Accepted System, and have gotten into PT school. And they are PT students today, and they are sharing their stories of the good and the bad. I think a lot of times as pre-PTs, we tend to focus on everybody else's good parts. Everybody else has better grades than me. Everybody else had an easier time getting into PT school, but very few times do we ever get to hear the struggles. And I think as a student that is currently a pre-PT, if you're a pre-PT right now, working your heart out to, get accepted into physical therapy school, there is nothing more inspirational than hearing the struggles that another student was able to navigate through, so that you can say to yourself, wait a minute, if Josephine went through those things, then maybe I can get into physical therapy, into a physical therapy program as well. Maybe I can do it too, because I see how she did it. I see how she was able to be resilient, and all these other students were able to be resilient. And because they could do it, then wait a minute, okay, maybe I'm being a little too hard on myself, and maybe I can get accepted into PT school. And that's it. That's the belief that we want you to have after watching every single one of these episodes. And tonight's episode is no different. So sit back, relax, enjoy. But I'm super excited. And Josephine, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us here tonight. How are you feeling?
I feel great. Thank you so much for having me. It's the least I could do after everything that you've done for us. So I'm really happy to be here.
It's an honor. It's an honor. It's funny. Before we started recording this, Josephine told me something. She said that she used to listen to these episodes before she joined our coaching program, and now she's on the other side. So I think it's just really cool how that came around full circle. But in the same way that, well, let me ask you this. How, when you were listening to those episodes, what did they do for you mentally?
I listened to a lot of episodes that I chose with students that had a lot of struggles and didn't have the traditional graduated right after BS getting their DPT. And I listened to see how they overcame their struggles and how the accepted system helped them. And I kind of use that as fuel for me in my pre-PT journey, because if they can do it, then so can I. Like people with lower stats than I have, or other even worse like life experiences and life situations in a worse like part of life than I am, then what am I doing sitting here listening to this podcast? Like what should I be doing action-wise, instead of just listening to my own problems and then listening to other people's problems? I wanted to take action, and that's what I did, and that's why I'm here.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So for those of y'all listening, maybe one day you'll be on the other side too. Maybe one I'll be interviewing sometime later this year, maybe next year. But I'm just super excited. So let's start from the beginning. Before we get to the part in your story where you share with us what your struggles were, tell us why physical therapy. What drew you to the profession?
So my dad went through a stroke a couple years ago, and then he had to receive physical therapy. He's a Vietnamese American immigrant, so he doesn't speak English that well. And the physical therapist that was working with him was not Vietnamese speaking. So my mom said, hey, like, you got to go to physical therapy with him. Like, you're a kinesiology major. Don't you know what to do already? So I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I went into the room in the nursing home and I tried to translate from English to Vietnamese. And I found myself having a really hard time, because even though I can speak in conversational Vietnamese, it was really hard for me to translate like movements that I have never said in Vietnamese before. And it made me realize that there's a lack of healthcare providers for for Vietnamese American patients. And I should be one of those healthcare providers because there's a need for us. And my dad hated physical therapy and he hated doing it. He hated being there. And I was getting frustrated because I tried my best, but I couldn't do that. And that inspired me to become a physical therapy aide, not just because I knew I wanted to go to PT school, but because I wanted to be a physical therapy aide in a Vietnamese American clinic or in a clinic with predominantly Vietnamese patients. So after applying to so many clinics, I did get a job as an aide with a clinic with a lot of Vietnamese patients. And I learned those skills to speak in Vietnamese, to instruct proper exercise instruction and exercise healing in Vietnamese. And that just really even like deepened my passion to be like the future healthcare provider for Vietnamese patients and any other patient whose first language isn't English. Like I have other skills I can use to like visual cues or like hands-on cues to use. Like I had those creative skills now because I knew my dad needed those and he didn't get that. And I see that these future patients, my dad and these future patients, and that's the type of healthcare provider that I really want to be.
Wow. Didn't we talk about this a little bit the first time you and I spoke on the phone? I think.
I think so. Yes. This is like the main reason. So I'm pretty sure we did talk about it. But I think I just recently came to that realization when I was writing my essay that I was like, that's why I was doing everything I was doing, because like I was seeing my dad and these patients. But I don't think like I realized that until afterwards, until like recently. Yeah.
Wow. So like, as you were kind of going through the application process and writing your essay, you were starting to kind of put the pieces together. You're like, wait, this has always been kind of my inspiration, right? From my dad to just, not just Vietnamese speaking patients, but you really alluded to people that were just having, a tough time, speaking English, communicating with physical therapists and getting the care that, they needed to get. And that's powerful. That's powerful. That's a beautiful reason to, keep you like, not just inspired as a pre-PT, but I just think that's a great, I guess, problem to solve, right? Like really creating ways to communicate with patients, because even now, like in our clinic, we have patients that, don't speak English at all. And a lot of times it's, you're using translating apps, or you have family members that are coming in, and sometimes, and so I think that's amazing, whether it's for Vietnamese speaking patients or whatnot. I think you're going to do something absolutely extraordinary, but that is powerful. That is powerful. So that tells us a little bit about why you want to be a physical therapist and what's drawn you, even without you realizing it, right? So now you fall in love with PT. You're like, all right, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna lock in and do this physical therapy thing. Tell us now, what were your biggest obstacles, right? Because for the students listening right now, so we have students listening live, we have students that are going to be listening to this on replay. They want to know, like, what were your struggles? Because I think as students, we just like struggles love company, right? So for those of y'all watching live, say me if you always love it when someone else basically tells you that they went through the same thing that you think is impossible at the moment, whether that's, academic or journey or whatever. And so I just think it's always amazing to hear, and you actually said it as well, Josephine. You were like, hey, like I loved in the past just listening to other stories and, hearing the struggles they had so that I could find, commonality and similarities and say, wow, okay, cool. Like I could do it too. So for you, what were your big obstacles as a pre-PT?
I had a lot of anxiety and mental health struggles that I went through. So I had a lot of anxiety, like social anxiety, academic anxiety. And a lot of this stems from being around the wrong people. And I think sometimes we can choose who has access to our lives and who has access to our pre-PT journey. And so, for example, I started in community college, and that really weighed me down because I felt like because community college, some people view that as lower, but it's not. And then when I went to my community college counselor, the kinesiology counselor at my community college, they said, there's no way you're getting into PT school. You have a 3.4, you need a 3.9 to even transfer. You're not going to be able to transfer from community college. And I was just like, wait, what? You're telling me like, because I have a 3.9, I'm not going to transfer to even a Cal State as a kinesiology major? And I never saw that counselor again. I just made my own goals, found a different counselor. And then I also had a few so-called friends or so-called people who they would ask like, oh, what are your academic goals? What are your plans? And then I would say, I'm going to go to PT school. Like, I want to be a physical therapist. And they would, and some, not all of them, but some of them would say, oh, PT school, I heard that's really hard. Or like PT school, good luck. Or PT school, I had a friend that applied to PT school and he didn't get in. So now he's just doing something else. And like those people, I decided that I didn't want to talk to them anymore about my journey or about my schooling. And then on the other hand, I have these amazing friends that said, like, I told them, like, I don't think I can get into PT school because like this counselor said that I need a 3.9. I don't have a 3.9. And they would say, no, you're going to get into PT school. Like, I believe you can get in. And those are my real friends, like to this day, that I still speak to, like about PT or about regular life. And then I have other friends that, you know what, like, even if you didn't do well in this class, I know you can do it. Like, I know you can get into PT school. And so that was one struggle, like the anxiety of not believing in myself to get in because of other people. And then another thing was failing a few science classes. So to be totally transparent, I have failed anatomy. I have failed general chemistry 2 times. I have failed general biology once, and like I've withdrawn from these classes like twice. And this was really early in my career because of my disbelief in myself that I couldn't do these classes. And I just didn't have a lot of self-worth as an academic, like as a student, or maybe even as a person, to be honest. And I think that really stemmed like the rest of my academic career in community college. And after I transferred, I kind of had a boost in confidence, thinking like, hey, like I transferred without a 3.9 and getting an A in kinesiology. Like, I proved this counselor wrong. So like, I wanted to prove everyone else wrong. Like, I was going to get like as many A's as possible. And that's kind of how like I boost my confidence, just like kind of using these people's criticism of me going to PT school because PT school is too hard. PT school is like, there's no way you're going to get in, blah, 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 blah. Using their criticism as fuel for me to actually do it and prove them all wrong. And also with my mental health, like I decided to go see a therapist for my anxiety and for my depression. And that totally plays into your academics. So if you do have like mental health struggles, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So I don't want to like not talk about it. So go seek help if you need help, because this plays into your personal life. This plays into your academic life. This will play into your future career. And I think seeing a therapist really helped me who I am as a person today.
Wow. I cannot, I can't second that loudly enough. And, you know, I don't think we sometimes like underestimate how much our mental health affects literally everything, right? And you know, whether that's anxiety or really anything. And you know, and I love how you just said go get help. Like, it's okay to get help. And I think, you know, sometimes I don't know if it's we're scared of it, or maybe we've never gotten help before, and so we see it as a sign of weakness or whatnot. No, like, please do. Like, I've struggled with plenty of anxiety, so I'm telling y'all right now, it is a lot, but a lot of us have experienced that, and you want to get help. Like, if you're really having a hard time figuring, like, please get help, because it allows you to like find strategies and ways to actually deal with what's like holding you back, so that you can actually basically kind of be at your best, right? And do what you need to do. So I love the fact you said that. Another thing is, I hope y'all heard the first things she said in there. The people you have around you. Who you have around you. Like, can y'all just take a quick second to just But like, tell me real quick, like for those of y'all live, if you take a quick glance at the people that you interact with the most about your PT school or pre-PT journey, are they getting you closer or are they taking you further away to your goal? Say closer. If you're like, be honest, like right now is not the time to try to show out. Like we're just all trying to learn and level up. So if you're looking in your head and you're like, the majority of the people that I talk with actually make me doubt myself, whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether that's advisors or whatever, say further in the chat. If you're like, you know what, I've actually figured it out. And the people around me always push me closer to my dream. Even when I'm doubting myself, they're the ones picking me back up. Say closer. So for those of y'all saying further, that means that you have more people in your life right now that are actually holding you back. And it might be people you love. That's like, that doesn't have to be like, they can kind of go together, right? And many times it is because family members are trying to protect us from the failure aspect or whatnot. So I'm seeing closer. I love it. I love it. If you are like the people that are drawing you closer, keep them close. Keep them close. The people that are drawing you away, further away, it's okay to let them go when it comes to this conversation, when it comes to you being a pre-PT student, because you usually, like you were talking about, having a 3.4, which I actually don't think a 3.4 is terrible. So like you were being told that as a 3.4, you're like, well, you need a 3.9 or you're never going to have a chance. Or, my favorite, I heard that getting into PT school is really hard.
Yeah.
Like that line is like the quickest like motivation crusher ever, like because basically what they're saying is like, just don't expect anything. You can try, but just be ready. And I think that's psychology. I mean, it is work. Like it's not easy. Don't assume it's easy, y'all. But I think that creates this narrative of it's impossible.
Yeah.
Right?
I totally agree.
Or the example of a friend or a family member. Oh, I have a cousin or I have a friend that did this. So just be very careful what you guys are taking in, because it directly affects how y'all act as students, right? And what you believe affects your actions, and your actions affect your results. Whether that's quitting, because the only way you don't get into PT school is quitting, or whether that means saying, okay, let me go back at it. And you did it. You were like, I failed multiple classes, multiple prerequisite classes.
Yes. Right?
Anatomy. Like you said, heavy classes that a lot of us, if we failed one of them, we're usually told, that's a sign. That's a sign that you'll never make it. And y'all are y'all seeing why these interviews are so important? Because I just want y'all to see the real deal. This is just this is exactly how it is. And so just be very careful of who you guys have around you. Having a failure failing a class is not the end of the world, right? There is always a next step. But I just think this is so powerful. So thank you so much for sharing that part. Let's go to the next part. So obviously you ended up joining the Accepted System coaching program. What led you, after going through all of those struggles, what led you to say, hey, I need some guidance. Like I need some help. I need some direction. So basically what led you to the Accepted System? And more importantly, how did it help you navigate through those obstacles that you had?
Gotcha. So what led me to the Accepted System was me stalking pre-PT grind for years on end. So I was following your guys' Instagram, kind of like stealing every piece of free advice you guys had. And I was thinking, like, if pre-PT grind is already giving us all this great information, like for free, and I'm literally stalking every single Instagram post, trying to grab any type of information I can get from you guys. I was like, what else? There must be more that you have to offer. And COVID hit in March 2019, and I got cut from my physical therapy aide job for about a month. And I also had a guidance counselor at my school tell me that you shouldn't do physical therapy. This is a kinesiology guidance counselor, and also 2 different kinesiology professors telling the entire kinesiology class, don't do physical therapy. You guys aren't going to get in. So I was kind of at my lowest, like mentally, because I just got my bachelor's in kinesiology. I was doing extra prerequisites, and COVID hit. I lost my hours at the PTA job, and I really needed someone, or not someone, but like a support group of people who knew what getting into PT school had to deal with. Because the guidance counselors at my school, they were great. They just don't know what it's like right now. All they have in their head is PT school is hard. You need a 3.9 in 1,000 hours, or 4.0 in 1,000 hours. That's all they have in their head about PT school. But it was clear to me that, like, extensively researching the website of PT Grind, because I really do. I'm not the type of person to make rash decisions. So I extensively looked through your website. I extensively went through almost every single podcast and almost every single YouTube video, like from like Ben Kim to like Taylor Kong, like every single one. And I was like, yeah, you guys definitely know what you're doing. And I trusted you guys. And that solved my problem because number one, it changed my mindset, which is so underrated. It's like the number one thing that got me to where I am today. And then number two, it refocused me every single week and gave me a large support system. So for those who are a little unfamiliar or don't know about the acceptance system, we have weekly classes where we go on Zoom, and every time you feel like you're a little down or like you kind of messed up that week, you didn't do anything at all for your PPT journey, whatever, you go to that class and you feel like re-energized. You feel like this is a new step to refocus. Like you might have like had a bad week last week, but like every week, like I knew it was like, I'm getting in with this group. This is like my large support system. Like this is the people I need to surround myself with because they're going to help me get to the goals that I want to be. And another huge thing that I love about pre-PT Grind and the acceptance system is that it's not a competitive structure. It's a community. And I'm the type of person that really thrives in community. Like I do really well when everyone's supporting each other. And I'm sure most people do too. So if that's the type of system you're looking for, this is the one to be in, because it wasn't the type of system where like, oh, she has like a 3.4 and he has like a 1.8, like I'm doing better than you. It's like, no, like we're all winning in this group. And that's why I wanted to join, because I'm not like, I didn't feel like I was competing for a seat. I was like, we're going to get these seats together. And that was really different from how I acted in my prerequisite classes where I like, no, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get into PT school and you're not, which is how I used to act, which is really embarrassing to say. But now I'm more like, hey, if you want to know like what I did, what prereqs I took, like I'll tell you everything. Because I just want all of us to get into PT school. Like I want all of us to be the best healthcare providers we can be. And that's like another way you guys like changed my mindset, I guess.
Wow. That's exactly it. I think a lot of us have been like, we're used to an environment of competing, right? It's like, oh, if that person knows this one thing, they must be a little bit ahead of me. Or if I know something that other people don't know, I need to keep it to myself because that gives me a leg up. And that's the wrong way to navigate through this whole thing. And I think that's why many of us end up losing, because many of us end up doing it alone because of that.
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
Instead of leveraging each other's strengths. There's 12,000 seats. There's 12,000 seats. That's why we call it 12K, right? Like there's seats. Like your job is to be at your best, not trying to bring anyone else down, not trying to, no. So I absolutely love that. For those of y'all that are listening to this right now and you're planning on applying to PT school and you're like, I don't even know where to start, I just need some sense of direction. I would like to invite you to go to www.acceptancenavigator.com. Casey and I did a 4-part video series for you there that'll break down to you the blueprint that Josephine and all these other students that have been in the acceptance system have followed to get into PT school. But more importantly, help you figure out, where am I really right now? Like, where am I? Like, where am I in relation to where I should be? Where am I, and how do I get to where I need to be so that I can feel like a strong applicant and get accepted into PT school? That's it. So if you're looking for that, go to www.acceptancenavigator.com. We got you covered. All right. Now, Josephine, we have 2 more questions. This one I love. Tell us about the day you got accepted into PT school, because you just told us that your struggles involved failing multiple classes, including multiple prerequisite classes. Obviously, anxiety and struggling with just like mental health struggles that you were very open about. Obviously, doubts planted by a number of other people, and just the second guessing, unsure of how everything was going to transpire. So ultimately, your goal was to get into PT school, and you did. So tell us about the day you got accepted. How did you find out? What did it mean to you? What were the thoughts going through your mind so that the students listening right now can kind of live vicariously through you? But I just want them to just realize that regardless of what they're struggling with right now, that day is still very, very possible for every single one of them. So tell us about the day you got accepted into PT school, and then I have one last question for you.
Sure. So I was working at the outpatient clinic as a physical therapy aide, and it was nearing closing time. Like, I'm off at lunch. So I was just checking my phone, because after you apply, you'll be checking your phone for emails like every 5 seconds. So I was just checking my phone, and then I opened one from Massachusetts General Hospital Institute of Health Professions, which is MGHIHP, which is my #1 top PT school. And then I read it, and it said, "Congratulations, you have been accepted." And then I dropped my phone, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so unreal right now." And then after I dropped my phone, I picked it up and I read it again, and I was like, "This is real. This is happening." And then I went and told my boss right away. And afterwards, she said, like, "I knew you would do it. I knew you could do it." And it was actually a really rough week for me, because that was the same week my dad passed away. And so, like, reading that was super emotional. Like, I knew he was like up there looking over me. And I FaceTimed like one of my closest friends. This is like one of the friends who told me, like, I know you can get into PT school. Like 3 years ago, when I was like getting D's in like anatomy and D's in like chemistry, I FaceTimed him, and then I said, like, "Hey, I got in." And like there were like tears running down my face. And just because like with my dad passing away and this happening at the same time, it's just like I knew like my dad was watching over me. And it was just a very like emotional time, because like having that happen in the same week is it's like a mix of emotions. And I'm just like really grateful for how everything has, like, my entire journey. And like I was just so shocked. Like, I FaceTimed all my friends, and like I was just like crying tears, and like I know like this had to do with my dad and like him watching over me. So it was a really big deal for me.
Wow, you sure made him proud.
Yeah. And I'm really happy.
Yeah, wow. What would you say? Let's say you had a chance to talk to yourself a year ago. And
a year ago.
Yeah, what would you say to Josephine a year ago? So there are students listening right now that are where you were a year ago, maybe headspace wise, frustration wise, whatever that is. Knowing that you ended up getting to where you are today, what would you tell her? Because that same advice that you would tell her, I think a lot of people listening to this right now will actually benefit from it. So what is your advice?
I think I would ask her a question. Like, right now, are you doing everything in your power and control to get accepted? And if not, what are the questions that you could be asking to do that? Because I think for a long time, I was asking myself, like, why, or not a long time, last year, I was asking myself, like, why is getting into PT school so hard? Like, why is this professor sucky? Like, why this, why that? Instead, I would have told her to ask these questions, which I learned from the accepted system. So this is all credit to you guys. But I would tell her this before I got in, how can you get help with this professor if this professor is hard? Since PT school is so hard, like, what are the steps you can take to make getting into PT school easier? So it would be really asking myself different questions. And then number 2 is to change the self-belief in my head. And one way that I did that after joining the accepted system is that every single day I would write in my calendar. But like the first thing I do when I wake up, I would do something called future journaling. So it's kind of like saying, like, I will get into PT school. I actually have my notebook with me because I was being sentimental. And when I joined the accepted system, I said, like, 6:16 p.m. Casey told me to write this, the day I decided to change my life. And I thought it was like the cheesiest thing ever, but you know what, Casey, you're right. So thank you. And then, so every single day I would write, like, I'm going to get into PT school. I imagine myself receiving an acceptance letter in the mail and opening it. I imagine myself getting I am getting a 350 overall on my GRE. So every single day, like, for me, that helped with my anxiety because it changed my self-belief. And this is a quote from you. it's expectation yields emotional outcome into physical action. And I don't know if you remember saying that.
I said that? Say it one more time.
Yeah. Expectation yields emotional outcome into physical action.
Wow. I need to reuse that one.
Yeah. And as a person who deals with a lot of anxiety and like a lot of, and not a lot, but like some like mental health issues like depression and not believing that I'll get in, so I wrote that quote at the top of my planner, and every single day I said, like, schools are looking at my application and seeing that I'm a well-rounded, driven individual. So every single day, like, I wrote something positive, like, hey, like, I'm gonna get into PT school, like, I'm gonna kill this GRE, like, I'm gonna get an A in physics, like, all for an entire month. And that really changed my belief about myself. And then I think that having that self-talk will change your actions in real life. Because before, 1 year ago, I thought that I couldn't get in. So that's why I wasn't, or 3 years ago, I thought I couldn't get in. So that's why I didn't do well in classes. What's the point of doing well in classes if I don't think I'm gonna get in? If you change that self-belief, then your action's gonna change. And once your action changes, the results of your life, of this pre-PT journey, it's gonna change. And I think that's the biggest thing that I have to say to anyone who thinks they can't get in, or who has been told they can't get in. Like, change your beliefs. If you change your beliefs, you're going to change your actions. And once you change your actions, you're going to change your results.
I couldn't have said it better. I could not have said it better. First of all, before I add to that, how many of y'all were inspired tonight? So for those of y'all watching right now, were y'all inspired? Say inspired in the chat below if you were inspired by Josephine's experience and story. But 100%, your beliefs about yourself, your beliefs about your ability to get into PT school are self-fulfilling prophecies.
Yes.
If you do not believe you can get into PT school, you won't.
That's so true.
If you believe you can get into PT school, you'll act like it, right? And I think many times we struggle with thinking that the opposite will happen. We think that, oh, I don't think I'll get in, but we're kind of hoping.
Yeah. Yep.
And this right here, that crossing my fingers and hoping that it works out, is the very thing that actually messes you up. Because what happens is you end up not believing that you're going to get into PT school. You're not even working on changing that. You're not working on, and how do I change it? I change that by who I'm around. I change that by what I tell myself. It's an intentional thing. It doesn't just happen. You don't just wake up saying, oh, I just think I'm going to be like the greatest PT student ever. No, it's intentional. Like, you have to like write it down. Like Josephine told y'all, she wrote it down. Like this, like shift it by force until it becomes the norm, because that affects your actions. When you don't believe you're getting accepted into PT school, your actions with classes, many times, if I don't believe I'm getting into PT school, what am I going to do? I'm going to come to a training like this. I'm going to listen to a story like this, and I'm going to think to myself, oh, that was so cool. I'm happy for her. And then I'm going to go back and keep doubting myself, and it's not going to get me anywhere. If I switch how I think about it and I say, I'm getting into school, I just know but I'm aware that I'm struggling with some stuff. All right. So because I already know that I'm going to get in, I already know that my calling is physical therapy. So Josephine was struggling. Oh, I'm struggling with that too. How does she solve that? Oh, she joined the accepted system. Oh, she put herself around other people that, she could like feed off. Okay, cool. I need to do that. People that believe that they're getting into school react with action. People that don't are passive and are disappointed for some reason when things don't go as planned.
Yeah.
Y'all, your beliefs are telling you where you're going. So what do you believe? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about your ability to become a physical therapist? If you're having a hard time believing, then ask yourself why. Like it's a lot more straightforward than you might think. Why? Is it things I'm telling myself? Is it things other people are telling me? Okay, how can I change that? Like, that's how I want you to start thinking. And with everything, whether it's classes, whether it's like your academic struggles, all of a sudden, instead of feeling like everything's a dead end, everything starts feeling insanely possible, right? And that's the difference. That's the difference. So I couldn't have ended it better. I thought that was brilliant advice, and I hope that shifted how y'all think, or at least reminded you guys that are listening to this how important it is to protect this right here. Like, your mind is such an important, like, it's probably the most significant thing to protect. I mean, Josephine, what was the first thing we dealt with in the acceptance system once you got in?
Mindset. Yeah.
I was like, there is no point in us talking about the GRE, PT, CAS, all this other stuff if we don't fix this.
Yeah.
All that stuff, like I said, if we don't fix this, then everything is going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy anyway, because you don't believe you can get in, which means you're not going to act like it anyway. You'll just keep self-sabotaging yourself, and this cycle that eats up a lot of careers, a lot of future potential amazing careers that ended because students quit. So I hope y'all took that, and I hope that gave you some direction, some clarity. And I hope you took some value from tonight's interview. And if you're like, hey, I need some next steps, go to acceptancenavigator.com. We got you. Or if you're like, hey, I just need like coaching, go to acceptancesystem.com, and we got you covered there as well. So that's it. Anything else that you would like to say, Josephine, before we wrap it up? Because I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, sure. I think someone commented on Instagram before I came on live about my prerequisite stacks, and I want to be totally transparent. I think it was like a 3.1 maybe, or 3.0. And when I was in community college, my GPA went as low as a 2.9. And I fought really hard to get that GPA to 3.4. And depending on what school you apply to, your GPA might be higher or lower because they might do the average or whatever. And I didn't want to like touch on GPA too much because, like, obviously I don't have the highest GPA, but I don't have the lowest GPA, because this journey is not about your GPA. This journey is so much more about that. And obviously you guys can touch on that when you join the acceptance system or when you do the acceptance navigator. And that's why I didn't want to touch on my prerequisites or my stats, to be clear, too much. But if you have any questions about my other stats, I'm more than happy to share. Like, I'll be totally transparent. I'm not afraid of that. Because I don't have a 4.0. I didn't get all A's in every single class. I didn't get all A's in all my prerequisites, and I still got into PT school. So can you.
Boom. That's it, y'all. That's it. So, y'all, please reach out to Josephine if y'all got questions. Feel free to comment below later on and tag her under this Facebook video if you guys have questions. I'm sure she'd be more than happy to answer them. But listen, we do this every single Tuesday night. I believe this was episode 58 of the Pre-PT Inspire series. We got another episode next Tuesday, and the Tuesday after that, and the Tuesday after that. And we're doing this until you realize that you're not alone, until you realize that your situation is not that unique. Your struggles, other people have gone through them too. The things that you think are holding you back, the things that you feel are the defining thing that's going to hold you back from being a physical therapist. Well, the truth is other people have dealt with that too. And so hopefully this starts to shift how you think about yourself, and it starts giving you that inspiration and hope that you can get into PT school. And then it gives you the kick in the butt to do something about it. All right. So that is it. Thank you so much once again, Josephine. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
I cannot wait to see what you do as a physical therapist, a future physical therapist. And super excited for your new phase as a PT student. And y'all listening in the same way that Josephine used to listen to this before she got here. One day I want to interview y'all. So let's get it done. So much love, y'all. You guys have a great rest of your evening. We'll talk soon. Bye.